Tim, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Been a little while in between. It's been about 2 years since we last caught up.
So, yeah.
And a bit has changed.
Bit's changed, yeah.
Not too much, but a little bit. Firstly, congratulations on an amazing career.
Yep.
It's obviously came to an end. You pulled the pin on it as of the end of the last season, which was the start of this year. Is that right?
Yeah. So, announced my retirement, I think, probably end of last year, sort of halfway through the season. Season sort of finished up in like January, February, and then went away with the national team in March. And that was sort of like the last playing sport or playing baseball at the higher level. So fresh out of retirement, but it feels good.
Nothing feels real different. It's all kind of the same, just one less thing to worry about.
Yeah, this time of the year, I don't really. It's sort of my little break from baseball anyway. So it hasn't really felt any different. I think once the training starts ramping up usually, and when the season comes along, I'll probably miss it a little bit more. But at this stage, just enjoying a bit more time. No,
great. What was the final Perth Heat game like? The last one you would have played in?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I did my MCL round one this year, which wasn't ideal. But lucky enough, I think I got back for round maybe 7 or 8, and played the last 3 series, and we were sort of in the playoff hunt at the time. So I had a last home series, a second last round, which was really good, and the Heat did a really good job of making me feel special for that last week, and then finished the last series over in Adelaide, and we were still in the playoff hunt. So I tried to not let it be a distraction and just go out there and try and win the games and try and make the playoffs. And unfortunately, we fell short by a game and didn't make it. But they did a really good job of sort of acknowledging that.
I was trying to keep up with it, and I was like looking to see, because I found out like you're obviously going to call your time, and I went, I've got to try and get down to one game, get down there, give him a watch. And every single home game you had didn't line with, I was either away or there was something else on, so I had like a friend's wedding or whatever it might be. I was like, oh no. So once I saw it, I was like, I've got to give him a message to let him know. I've acknowledged it. But no, great. Amazing. We obviously spoke a lot about your career last time you were here. I'd love to sort of just pick a little bit more on that. But there are some factors I want to also speak to you today about, because you've, over your entire career, you've obviously been involved in captaincy and leadership roles and all that, and that's something that, like myself, I'm trying to do a lot more now, being a business owner and all that. So there's things like that I would love to sort of pick your brain about and see if it sort of can resonate in any way. But also, I'm sure there's listeners out there that might be able to pick something up from it too. So interesting to hear it from a professional such as yourself. But since you were last on, the icebreaker question I always go with has changed.
Yes.
So it has changed slightly. You had a great answer last time, but this time around, I think I'm excited to hear what you've got, because I reckon there's going to be quite a few interesting answers. But what was your most random achievement during your childhood?
Oh, can I have 2?
You can have 2.
Yeah, 2. First one's quick. Both in primary school. The first one, and I always bring it up when we go over to Japan, but I think it was year 6 or year 7, we had a chopstick competition where you had to sort of move little blocks from bowl to bowl. Ended up winning that, beating one of the girls in the final. But I reckon the coolest, and I always bring it up to my son, it was either year 6 or 7 again in primary school. There's a thing called the Big Mac kickoff. So it was basically 20 metres apart. Yeah, so you and your partner, someone from your class, I think you had a minute to be able to kick the ball back and forth as many times as you can. And one of my best mates from primary school, Chris Johnson, who ended up playing the AFL, he was my partner, and we ended up winning it from Palmyra Primary School, and then we had to go to the back of Subiaco Oval. We ended up nailing it and taking it and winning. So we won all these footies for the school, and I think we won a few things, and it was a cool experience, and he went on to play AFL footy, got drafted father-son, and then I took the baseball route. So, I just always bring that up, and whenever I talk to my son about kicking the footy, I say, mate, I won the Big Mac kickoff. So.
Yeah, that's claim to fame right there. Do you remember how many?
I don't. No, it was. I don't remember how many, but I remember we didn't drop one, and it's. I think we did pretty well.
No, that's. I actually remember that, but I think we did a different version. I think it was more of like a cricket version where we were throwing it.
Okay.
I think it was like catches, throw and catch over a certain period of time. Okay. So I don't think it was the exact same, but I have heard of the kicking one. It might have been around when I was at school. I can't actually remember. There's a few years between us. Great answer. Well, to get into it, like, obviously last time we spoke all about your career, everything, your whole build-up and how you got to where you were, but now that's come to an end, you've got a bit of time to sort of reflect, I'm assuming, and sort of think back on some big things that would have happened over it. But so I was curious to sort of just get an idea of, like, do you have anything that stands out, like, over the last time of reflecting? Do you have anything that stands out as, like, a favourite moment, whether it was during your time playing over in the minor leagues, playing here at Perth Heat, international? Is there anything that sort of sits in your mind and you sort of replay going, like, that was something that I'll never forget?
Yeah, it's one of those things where for the last few years, my answer's sort of been the same, and it's winning the championships. With the Perth Heat. It was, at a time where we had such a good core group of players, all my best mates, and we won 6 out of 8 championships, or 6 championships in 8 years. And, we had different imports would come in every year, and I'm still sort of speak to those guys and still close to them.
Yeah.
And I think, winning those championships and building that bond with the playing group just made those seasons more special. And I still think back, and 2015 was the last time we actually won, so it's been a long time, but you never miss that winning feeling, and yeah, they were just special moments that I'll carry forever.
Do you still do like regular catch-ups, like what do they call them, reunions? With
no, we don't do reunions. They do like a Claxton Shield Club, which is sort of one Perth Heat series. All the ex-Claxton Shield players will come down and watch the game, which I haven't been a part of yet because I'm still playing.
Yeah.
But I catch up. They're my mates, so I still, we catch up regularly and all that, and still keep in touch with the guys over in the US as well.
Oh, beautiful, great. No, it's a very team man, humble answer. Yeah. I'll give you that. Any memorable story from your time over there? Anything one of your teammates did? Anything you did? Anything you can remember from then?
With over in the States or playing here?
Anywhere at all.
Oh, memorable stories. None that I can think of. I just remember back, back in that period of time where we won a lot. We were known as the Happy Heaters. All the probably other teams that we versed probably thought we were sort of a bit cocky and arrogant, but we were just going out there and we just had the best time. We enjoyed ourselves on and off the field. We were best mates, so we would go out and enjoy ourselves, but we were still professional. We'd still go out there and train hard and work hard, and we'd still go out. Some guys will go out to the clubs, 2, 3 in the morning and come back to the field and still be able to rake and perform, and and just the best mates, and you're just having the best time.
Yeah. So it was more just those small moments.
Yeah.
With them. Yeah.
Nothing that stands out,
no,
but yeah, we just had the best time. Yeah.
Good. And you're obviously going to be great mates with them throughout your entire life, I'm assuming. You still regularly catch up with constantly?
Yeah, my best mates, yeah. I feel like it always comes back to my best mates all through baseball. I left to go over to the US basically right after high school. So, my high school mates, you sort of lose touch with a little bit because you're just away so much, and then your baseball mates that you're playing with all the time and you're training with, they become your best mates, and still to this day they're the people that I go catch up with and spend time with. Yeah,
100%. No, awesome, mate. Well, over your time then, like all those memories looking back on, like you've obviously during a majority of that, you were probably captain for a lot of that career, I'm assuming, like your time at Perth Heat and also were you the Australian baseball team
Australian captain? Yeah. So not over the whole time. The captaincy was something that wasn't really around when I first got into either the Australian Baseball League or the Australian team. It was something that when Dave Nielsen Dingo took over as the manager, I think back in maybe 2017 or 18, that was when he sort of appointed me the captain, and that was the first time, from what I can recall, that they've had a captaincy with Team Australia, and that sort of flowed down into the Perth Heat. So probably for the last sort of 9 years, I think, of playing, I was captain of the national team and the Perth Heat. And before that, we didn't really have a captain, and I wouldn't have said I was a captain. There was just a bunch of core Perth Heat guys that were leading the team as a collective, and we still have that. We've still got senior guys in the team now that sort of helped me lead the team. And early on in the days, I was just basically learning how the other veteran guys and the other leaders of the team sort of went about their business. As much as they weren't appointed as captains, they were the leaders of the team.
Sort of fed off each other.
Yeah.
Like you would have your input, they would have their input, and it sort of just allowed you to keep the balance within the team pretty well.
Yeah, it was basically just as a collective, just creating an environment that allowed the team to have success and allowed the team to be comfortable and enjoy their time playing together.
But over it, would you say you were sort of the main man? You were the one that sort of had to make the tough decisions at times?
Probably not until I was appointed as the national team captain. I think prior to that, as a collective, but probably one of my best mates, Luke Hughes, who's a couple of years older than me, he started playing for the Perth Heat and the national team a few years prior to I did, and he spent a lot of time over in the US, played in the major leagues, and he's someone that I always sort of looked up to and sort of watched the way he went about his business. So he was probably, without being named the captain, he was probably the captain, as I saw as the captain of the team, and then obviously, as I started playing with him more and more, it was probably more of a collective with leading the guys, and it probably wasn't until he retired from baseball, or he actually moved over to Melbourne and played over in Melbourne for a couple of years while still on the national team, and sort of that I basically almost stepped into that role as being the captain, and was able to sort of help lead with a few other guys. But he was probably more of the leader of the team, and I sort of fed off him, and then. Once he left, it sort of gave me the opportunity I need to step up here.
Step up a little. Was it always sort of something you did throughout your childhood? Were you captain of your junior teams, like in footy and anything like that, or was it just something that grew on you later in life?
Oh, I did. I did do some captaincy through footy. As actually, I always bring this up, but I was captain of a team of one of my junior footy teams in Harry O'Brien, who. Lumumba, he was a vice captain, so I always used to bring that up, that I used to be his captain. But I did, but it wasn't something that I didn't think I was a captain or a leader as such. It's probably something that just developed over time with watching and learning off other guys and other players, other senior guys, and once you learn the way that they go about their business and you adapt that. Then you can start sort of leading yourself. So probably, I did do some captaincy, but I wouldn't have found myself as definitely a leader from an early age.
Yeah, it's interesting just because I find most people that take on captaincy, they've had it throughout their life. Like it's always something let's be honest, all of us would like some type of leadership role, but a lot of us aren't quite sure how to really get ourselves there. And so it's interesting seeing people with early on in their career, whether it was like juniors, something like that, they got handed captaincy, and whether they just carried that on later in life or they just did the basics early on in life and they just kept learning and learning and learning until eventually captaincy just gets handed their way into their professional career or their seniors, whatever it might be from there. So just good insight to sort of see whether you always saw yourself being a captain or whether you...
No, I think probably the latter. As much as I did captain some teams in junior footy, I probably wouldn't have, like early on in baseball, wouldn't have seen myself as being the captain or being the leader, and it was just something that just evolved and evolved over time, being around other guys, and I probably developed, I guess, the right work ethic and professionalism early on in my career, which probably stemmed to some of those leadership roles later on.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, like you obviously shared that role with a few others. You all sort of got the same goal. Like you're all sort of playing the same sport. You all sort of want to do the same thing. But I'm sure there's different styles that everyone has, and they sort of look at it as like, oh, we should do this, we should do that, and you've all got to come to an agreement on that. Can you sort of, like when there is a leadership group in that sense, can you sort of have a lot of clashes? Is it tough to sort of balance with everyone else, or is it more of a level-headed conversation that usually goes on?
Yeah, to be honest, there hasn't been a lot of clashes as far as the leaders who I've been involved with.
Yeah.
I guess they've sort of all been my mates and like you said, like common goals, right? Everyone's got the common goal to create a winning culture, build an environment where guys feel comfortable, and I've always found when I have been leading with others in the team that we've all got common goals. Obviously, there's tough conversations and things that you need to have with whether it be other players or imports that come in or younger guys. I guess probably not being at the standard that the rest of the team, what's sort of required with the rest of the team. And for me, that's probably one downfall with my leadership is having those tough conversations with the guys. No one really likes having those tough conversations. And
like confrontation.
Yeah, it's a bit of a skill, and it's something that I've always... the way I thought of it is you need to have those conversations, and when you have those conversations, you're basically making it feel like it's for the betterment of the team. You know, like what you need them if they're not hustling balls out, or you know they're letting their professionalism slip. It's trying to, in the best way of dealing with everyone individually, is bringing them up to speed with. If you do this, it's going to be it's going to help the team out. You know, we're a better team when you're, you know, doing this or that, and it's something that tough early on as a captain or a leader, but probably something that gets a little bit easier as you sort of lead for a while.
Yeah, you mentioned it just before. Like, they're obviously your mates. Like everyone you play with, you're good mates with, and you're still good mates to this day. But when you're having to sort of have those conversations with them, and like. It must feel weird because off field you're all mates. There's no sort of, no one's captain, everyone's equal, it's all that. But then on the field, you're that responsibility. You're in charge, and not saying that you control everything they do, but you sort of have a say in like how they're performing and those type of things too. So, is it tougher to have a conversation with someone that's more of a good mate on and off the field, or is it easier? Or is it harder to have a conversation with someone that's new and that you don't? Not necessarily you don't know as well, but they're just more of like they're sort of new to the group, and you're able to sort of have your say a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think definitely tougher with mates or close friends or guys that you've played with for a long time. And to be fair, I haven't had to have too many of those conversations because what we've done pretty well is we've built a really good environment from the start. So we've had guys that have... you as a
person, you just didn't easy way to get along with.
No, well, I think just, you know, you build that... And everyone's got the same common goal, and you build that environment where you allow guys to be themselves, and you allow guys to sort of thrive. And there's probably been a handful of times where you've had to have tough conversations with good mates or teammates, and you just and it's going to be different for every individual. You know, some guys you need to rile up, and some guys you need to make them feel good about themselves, and so it's different conversations, but definitely tougher if you got a good mate that you need to have those tough conversations with.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, for sure. For me, like I haven't had much captaincy responsibilities in my life. My closest is probably in my juniors when I was maybe under 17, somewhere around there. That was when I was probably peak at my cricket ability, and being captain of a cricket team, like you are in charge of a lot more, not so much at like a juniors level, because you obviously have your coaches and parents and all that that allow you to have a little bit more to lean on. But I found that just you're sort of friends with these guys in school. Like for me, it was in school, but then you're on the field, like you're in charge of, all right, I need to know who's going to do what on the field. I need to know who's going to bowl. And I found at times that confrontation, like you mentioned before, like if someone was doing something poorly, if someone was doing something, they weren't getting their fair go at it, because we're getting to that level now that the next push is for seniors. So you want everyone to be doing well, but you also want to be doing the right thing for the team. I found there was a few times my mates weren't happy with how I was guiding them or giving them a go on the field. It might be that they might have got smashed in and over, and I was like, look, I'm going to take you off for a moment because you're going to get yourself level-headed. No, I want to go again. And you have to be like, oh. And that's at 16, 17, I was doing that. So getting older, I'm assuming it'd be a lot harder talking to other guys and all that. But did you find that was sort of something that ever happened in a way? Like you may have had someone do something out in the field, it may have been during training or anything like that, and you had to sort of come back and it might have resulted in something, not so much a conflict, but just something that just caused a little inconsistency in the team? Most
of the time, if those conversations need to be had, I'd wait to sort of after the game after training, and it'll sort of be more of a one-on-one, you know, like pull them aside and just be, you know, like...
So you weren't so much barking orders out in the field and all?
Yeah, there was probably... one time probably this last season, it was actually just at club ball level. And, yeah, like I said, most of the times I'd probably try and do it in more of a private setting, but we had one of the pitchers who was out there, and he's a competitive player, and to be fair, we probably weren't playing as well as we should have behind him defensively. Things just weren't quite going his way, and it got to a point where his body language started to slip, and he started, showing up the players, and that's one thing that in our environment that we've tried to do is you don't show up at our players, and that was something that he did, and I had to sort of pull him aside. I actually was. I think I was coming back from the injury and I wasn't playing, or I was DHing maybe, so I was on the bench at the time when he was in pitching, and basically just had to pull him aside and tell him how to pull his head in, basically, and you're showing up the other guys. No one's out there trying to make errors. No one's out there trying to not make the plays behind him, and that's probably one time where I had to sort of do it in front of the group, because you're out in the open, you can't just go into the clubhouse and do it, and he actually thanked me for it, a couple of months later.
That's
and,
good.
But also you could see it, he shifted the next inning when he went out there, when he went out there and controlled what he can control, and went out there and had a good inning. And but it's something that I try and do individually with how I think the guys are going to take it, and try and do it more in a private setting.
Yeah, so you instead of being that, because I guess it's one of those things, like you sometimes see, especially in footy, there's some people out there that can not be hot-headed, but they like to just get their point across in a very harsh way, and it's sort of like a reality check in a sense. But by the sounds of it, you're more of the approach of not so much nurturing, but letting them know what they've done and trying to bring them back to that level so they can think about what they've done and then work it out themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And baseball's probably a bit different to your footy and maybe even cricket. I know, like, the captains make a lot of calls on the field and all that, where and footy, you got to be, I'm not one of those rah-rah kind of captains, like I sort of will lead without sort of being the loudest person in the room, and it's different with baseball. We're playing every day. I know in footy you play once a week, and the captain's job's to rile the guys up, and that that might work in the footy sense, where you're around the guys every day. You're playing, in the States you're playing every day. Here we're playing 4 games a week, and no one wants to hear that rah-rah leader all the time. 4 days in a row just playing. That would be hard to keep the team motivated. Yeah. So probably probably not the old footy rah-rah sort of captain. It's more of if things need to be said, I'll say it, but it's more just setting the standard and letting the guys sort of be themselves. So that would sort of be your style of captaincy in a sense, more of a relaxed type of nature, and let players work it out themselves, but put your hand up when you need to tell someone how it is. Yeah, probably. And I think one of the most important things is you just got to set the standard of the playing group, whether it's work ethic, being on time, how you prepare, your professionalism, how you treat guys, and how guys how you make guys feel. And I feel like if you lead that way, those tough conversations are few and far between, because you set the standard from the time that they start putting on the uniform, and until guys start slipping with their standards, you can let guys go out there and feel comfortable and be themselves. Yeah, so it's essentially just letting them work it out, go from there and build it up. Did you ever do you find that it's helped in like your everyday life as well? Do you find that things that you've learned on the field with your leadership and that has helped in every day with like your family, personal, or is there things from your personal life that you've actually brought into the baseball side of stuff? I think it probably is starting to help a little bit with I'm a firefighter, so been doing that for 11 or so years, and probably same with early on in firefighting days was early on in baseball. You just listen, you learn, you watch the senior fireys, same as the senior baseball players around you, how they go about their business, and now sort of being in the job for 11 years now, you got a lot of younger guys coming through, so you got to start taking on more of a leadership role as a senior firefighter, and so that's probably helped in that sense, and probably since having kids as well. That's another challenge in itself, and being able to, I guess, probably puts things into perspective when you're out there playing and trying to lead as well with how you do that with your kids. A little bit tougher to resonate with a child than a
player out in the field, hey?
Yeah, especially when you got a stubborn 6-year-old daughter who's not dissimilar from her dad. Trying to reason with them is a lot harder.
Has she had any more? Because I remember last time you mentioned she sort of set alight the Japan crowd. Has she done anything else crazy?
Well, funny enough, we were back in Japan for the World Baseball Classic, which was 3 years after the last one. Back in Tokyo. She was 3, I think, back in 2023 when she was trending on Twitter for a chance and a loud, piercing voice, and then all the build up for World Baseball Classic. We were over there for a training camp, and I had all these media requests, and you go out there because I was captain of the team, but just about everyone from the Japanese news would ask the question about Florence, your daughter, is she coming over? Is she going to cheer? And then she obviously thought she was famous over there, so there was all the build up for her. But I think she was a bit disappointing with her chance. She started to get a bit more embarrassed. But it was but they loved it. They just loved coming over there and being a part of it.
Yeah, good. So humility started to kick in a little bit for her.
Yeah.
You just don't have those consequences when you're that young.
Yeah, that's right.
You just say whatever you want, and no care in the world. Coming back over to it, in relation to sort of like what your time in charge and like becoming captain, those leadership type qualities you had, do you find that there was any sort of times where you had to put your hand up and say, like, I've done something wrong here, I've made a mistake, and mention that to the group, or was it more of something that you just noted in your mind and went, all right, I'll make sure I change that up for next time because it obviously hasn't worked?
Yeah, it's a tough one in baseball because you're dealing with failure quite a lot.
Yeah.
Probably one thing that I had to develop over time was just how I controlled my emotions throughout the game, whether I was having a bad game or a good game, and keeping the positive energy. And it's probably something early on where I'd probably get a bit too frustrated with outcomes, and I'd probably let that show too much, and sometimes guys will feed off that negative energy, so without trying to keep it positive.
You're going down, so the rest of the team starts to feel it.
Yeah. So I always, I guess my mentality over the last however many years as captain is trying to keep an even keel and try and have the same persona whether you haven't got a hit in the game or whether you're 4 for 4 in the game, and try and keep that positive energy around where guys will feed off that and are able to sort of be themselves a bit more. But you make mistakes all the time, and I guess the best way as a leader is to own up to those mistakes and and try and adapt and evolve. And the beauty of baseball is you're playing so many games that you make mistakes in the game, you're back out there the next night and with a clean slate and try and do the same thing again. So I guess trying to make up for the mistakes, but I've always been one that has taken pride in preparation, whether it's getting ready for a season or whether it's getting ready for a game. And if you do that and you trust the processes, and obviously the outcomes don't always work out the way you want, but if you trust those processes and your preparation, then you don't really have any regrets.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's like the old expression, if you do all the right things, you do all the fundamentals, the scoreboard takes care of itself.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You hear that all the time.
Yeah.
You said before, like, there's when you get frustrated at your own game. Do you feel there was a part of your game that tended to get you more? Was it more like if you striked out? Was it more when you were pitching? When would you sort of notice your own frustration get worse?
Anytime I got out. No, I think early on I was all outcome based. I would be, if I didn't get a hit or if I didn't get on base, I'd get frustrated. Where I probably started to flip that and started to trust more of the process. And if I was doing the things like being on time, when I'm hitting, so being on time, looking for the right pitch, having the right plan in place, and if the outcome didn't, if I didn't get a hit, I was still okay with that, because you might go up there with a plan and hit the ball as hard as you can all day or all season and hit it straight to someone and get out, and it's easy to get frustrated like that. But for me, that's a win, and so you got to try to take those. Trust the preparation and your planning, and take them as a little win. But yes, it's very easy to get frustrated, and it's very easy to show that. So it might be you might striking out is always a pet peeve of mine. And And also, if you get a chance to hit with runners in scoring position, you got to run on second or third base, and you got a chance to an opportunity to drive in a run, and you don't get the job done. For me, I get frustrated at that because you got an opportunity to get the team on the board, and you haven't come through.
You haven't done your part.
Yeah. So as I'm running out to the field, I might be frustrated, but I'll try not to show it as much and then you got to flip the switch real quick and get back on defense because you don't want it to taking that bat out into the field and make an error in the field.
Yeah.
But hitting's one of those things where can be frustrating and you get out more times than not. But for me, on defense is where I don't really want to make any mistakes.
Yeah.
I probably would rather. Rather go over in a game, with having good at-bats than making an error in the field, and it's going to affect sort of the pitcher or affect, runs being scored. And, that's one thing. You never want to make an error in the field.
No, yeah, that's quite similar in cricket in sense. I reckon you prefer to have a missed chance or something with on the batting, like an edge that might just get dropped and you think like, I've got a second chance, compared to if you were fielding and you let a ball just get past you. Drop a catch or something like that. It sort of feels like you're giving the other team something when you drop something out in the field compared to if you get given a second chance in a way.
And I always feel like if you get out in baseball, you're sort of letting yourself down. If you make an error in the field, you're letting the team down. And it's always one thing, you never want to let the team down. But, it happens. It happens part of the sport. Yeah. And it's about how you can adapt and I guess make those adjustments quickly.
Yeah. Did you have a pre-game ritual that you always leant back on any time you sort of felt things weren't going right?
Not really pre-game rituals. My preparation would just vary depending on how my swing felt, how my body felt. Some games I'll take 100 swings before a game. Sometimes I might take 30 swings before a game. No superstitions with putting my socks on the right way. I would always sort of get out to the field prior to the game around the same time, which is normally pretty early on, and start getting my body moving and prepared for the game. And that time frame probably lengthened the older I got. I started to get myself ready for a game, but not really any rituals or needed to eat anything in particular before a game. But I would always make sure that I was fully prepared. My body was fully prepared, and I was fully prepared to face whichever pitch I was facing on that day.
Yeah, so it was it just came down to how you were really feeling that day and just doing the bare basics and following that, not trying to throw your routine off too much.
Yeah, and
kids probably don't help with that, but
absolutely. Yeah, my routine pre-game or the day of really changed when you had kids. Like when you're trying to prepare for a game, but that's when the kids are the priority, that changes, and then you just got to make. Once you get to the field, that's when you start preparing the best you can. Normally making sure you get enough sleep is a bit harder with kids, but I always made sure that I felt really confident in my preparation heading into a game.
Did you ever have a time, like obviously early days with having children, where, say, it really affected your sleep, it affected like your entire day to the point that you had to be like, am I going to be a liability for the team to play? Or is it easier for me to actually just go out in the field and just do my part even though I'm feeling not as switched on?
Yeah, it probably wasn't a time where I didn't feel like I was prepared enough, and if you did, you got to trick yourself into thinking that you're prepared as best as you can, and as much as you might not be, where you didn't get enough sleep, or you didn't eat as well as what you needed to, or you didn't get enough swings in. You need to trick yourself and think that you've done enough to what you need to do for that particular game. And there's definitely been different periods of time where I might not have prepared the best I can for a game or for a series, but good thing about baseball is you play so many games that you can go back out there the next day. And to be honest, like there's games where I haven't prepared the best I can and I've gone out there and had success on the field, and there's games where I've done everything you can to prepare and you go out there and you don't get a hit that day. Yep. So that's part of baseball. And
it's any sport, really.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, that's just curious to know that. But off topic a little bit, I wanted to ask you just before, because we were speaking about golf off air just earlier, and I was mentioning how I'm sort of getting into it, and you're obviously a pretty handy golfer. Do you reckon your baseball swing has helped in the way your body moves for golfing?
Baseball swing helps with distance. It doesn't help as much with accuracy. And it's funny, one of my actually my main junior coach when I was coming through Waste, he always said to me, if your baseball swing's good, your golf swing won't be, and if your golf swing's good, your baseball swing won't be. But I sort of was able to adjust a little bit, between the two, and it's something that the way the body moves with the baseball swing helps with golf, but it's such a different swing where there's a lot of baseballers, they go out there and hit the ball a long way, but they won't keep them very straight. Yep. And that's something that now that I've retired from baseball, I can start playing a bit more golf and start dedicating a bit more time into playing, into practicing, and it's probably going to add to the frustration of the sport.
I'm learning that, don't worry.
Yes, yeah. But now I've joined a club, I'll be playing a bit more.
Oh, mate, you're already pro in baseball. You're probably going to go pro in golf next, I reckon, by the sounds of it. Interesting to know. I'm having the cricket background, so I just have this niche of, I feel I'm always hitting underneath the ball, like in a cricket show. You know how you want to play the ball and try and get the air if you're playing those lofted shots. That's how I tend to sort of come around. So a lot of times when I've been videoing myself or anything like that, I've gone, oh no, you're playing more like a cricket player. But it's just so hard to switch off that mentality because that's the way you naturally swing.
Yeah.
So then you're trying to change your grip, change this, change that, and then you're trying to swing and it just doesn't feel like, I don't know if you have the same thing, but in golf it just sort of feels like you're a lot more constricted with your swing in comparison to baseball or in cricket as well.
I was sort of lucky enough to grow up where I played a lot of golf as a kid too. My dad was a golf pro and teaching pro, so I've always played golf and always swung a golf club. So probably, and I see a lot of baseball players that haven't played a lot of golf come in and you could just see it's just the same baseball swing. So I'll try and differentiate the two. The one thing I've always struggled with golf is my back elbow. So in baseball I want to try and keep that back elbow up, which helps generate power because you're driving down on the ball. So I get that floating elbow a bit in golf, which helps with power. But I can
sacrifice the accuracy. Don't
you? So it's something that I've been working on over the last couple of months.
It's coming along. You sound like you're pretty handy, so I might. I was going to say we should go for a ground sometime soon, but I'm not sure I'm prepared.
I'll play with anyone. I
might just have to give myself a handicap. Yep. Always curious to know now that I'm getting into the golfing world. Coming back to sort of like your time with the captaincy and that side of it, did you like we obviously mentioned there was mistakes and all that sort of come across and it can affect us out in the field. Did you have anyone that sort of like you came back to at times where when you felt things were going not so much that you were losing sort of your own drive or anything towards it, but did you find that you had something you always went back to someone to speak with, like a mentor in a sense, to help keep things on track, or do you always sort of have your own sort of personality where you just went, I know what I need to do here to get my thought process back, bring it back and be that person for my team?
Yeah, there's probably been a few people over many years, sort of depending on whether I've been over in the States or back here. Like I said, Luke Hughes, usually one of my best mates, a couple of years older than me, so I was lucky enough to be able to play with him for a long time with the Perth Heat, so we could always feed off each other. And he was, someone that, that had seen me play for a long time, so if something didn't quite look right, he would sort of help me out. Probably the other one is Kevin Hooker, who was a scout that originally signed me with the Philadelphia Phillies, and he's someone that's obviously seen me play a lot. He was the one that drafted me over to the States, and he's still involved with baseball and scouting, and he's someone that I've always sort of trusted with what he sees in either my swing or my approach, and someone that if I do need to ask, or if he sees something, he'll let me know, and someone I've always sort of trusted. But it's probably something I struggled with over in the States was, you go from season to season, you have so many different coaches, so many different hitting coaches with different philosophies, and they all want to put their little spin on you and give you their advice. And it's probably something that early on I would always try what they were, they're saying they'll get you to try this, and you just wanted to be coachable and you wanted to impress the coaches, because if you didn't, if they gave you something to work on, you didn't, you might not be playing. So it's always something that you just have to sort of have to do, and it's probably something that I didn't do enough of is taking that advice, and if it didn't work, then being able to go back to what I thought was working at the time. And And the best coach is yourself. Over time you figure out what works for you, what your approach needs to be, what feels good in your swing, because someone could tell you you're doing this, but if you don't actually feel it yourself, then it's really hard to make those adjustments. And once I started becoming my own coach in a sense, that probably helped me along the way. But Husey was definitely one, and there's coaches along the way that have I could definitely go and lean on and ask a question and trust their advice.
Yeah, so it's sort of, did you find that you started to become that person for people in your team as well? As things went on?
Yeah, it was, and as much as, and it's hard probably when you're playing as well, but I wouldn't as probably consistently as what I should have if I see something in someone's swing or approach, you'd go and give them that advice. If people came to me and asked, of course, I'd be willing to sit down and tell them how I feel. I wouldn't, and probably for me, it's more, I would probably more talk to people about what their plan and what their approach is, rather than trying to fix something mechanically in the swing, because I know how frustrating it can be to someone to give you some advice in your mechanics when you don't feel it yourself. But it might be like, your timing looks off a little bit, or what was your thought process then in that at bat or that game, and probably trying to help him in that sense. But if guys come to you and ask for advice, I'll sit down all day with them and tell them what I think and what I see. And if there's anything obvious, obviously I'd sort of bring it up, but I'll let guys sort of feel it themselves and sort of work it out and try to make those adjustments, kind of like I used to do.
Yeah, I don't know if you found this too, but it's sort of a different feeling, because early on in your career, like you're trying to learn, you're trying to pick up all this stuff, and you're trying to become the best version, the best player for yourself, for your team, and all that too. And then as things go on, you start to actually become the person offering out advice, offering this out. And I found that it was an interesting experience for me when I was playing seniors. I finished playing up cricket a little while back. I'm probably going to make a mini comeback, to be honest with you. But
yes.
So it always makes its way back around. But I remember when I was playing down at Willetton District, and I was one of the older guys. I hasn't been really consistent, but I was playing in like the lower grades where we had a lot of juniors flowing through. And now my mentality is, I'm still a junior in my head, but physically and aging-wise, the body's saying otherwise. But I had kids and like juniors coming up and being, how do you work on this side of stuff? How do you work on that? And so I'm offering advice to them, sort of sharing knowledge that I've picked up over my time to do that. And then it starts to click into your head that, I'm becoming that guy that I used to look up to when I was at training, when I was 16, 17 years old, talking to the seniors, trying to get myself into that squad. Now they're doing that with me. And so it was kind of a full like moment in your head, like a 360 moment in your head, where you just go, this is a bit surreal in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I've done a lot of coaching kids and running different programs, school holiday programs and all that. And I definitely found with coaching, help myself. Obviously, like you're teaching them whatever your, I guess, thoughts are with hitting and your plan and your approach. And it just sort of brings it back to the basics of what you need to be working on, and you can always go back to those fundamentals of what you're trying to teach the kids and trying to keep the game simple, because if you try and make it too complex, it can
becomes too much for them.
It becomes a really hard sport. So and then obviously as you get the young guys coming through at the Perth Heat level and the national team level, is probably more trying to, I guess, lead them in a way and make them be in an environment where they're comfortable and they can be themselves and thrive, and then just giving little bits of advice to lead them without, obviously they got there, right? So they've got the ability and they've got the talent, but just in small little ways being able to lead them in the right direction.
Yeah, sort of, you can just do enough to sort of help them in their way of it. I found there was at times too where you'd say all this stuff to them and you'd walk away going, that was actually some pretty good advice. I should take my own sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard as well, giving advice, and when you're still playing as a captain, as a leader, because you've got to make sure that you're doing everything right and you're performing. Nothing worse than trying to give advice to someone who's got better stats than you or who's playing better than you at the time. So, but at the end of the day, it's everyone's got the same common goal and going out there and trying to win. And if you can offer a little bit of advice or help someone out in a little way, that's going to help the team in a sense. It's worth it.
Yeah, no, that definitely would be. I guess on that too, like having a lot of conversations with teammates, whether it be over playing for Australia, playing for the Perth Heat and that type of stuff too. Is there sort of like a conversation you remember having one time that still makes you look back on that after having something with chatting with someone that you sort of reflect on, going like, oh, that actually was really good to know, to sort of learn about them, or you've brought it into your own life, or something that you learnt as a captain and going, well, I should probably do that more often because it obviously worked a lot more for them.
Yeah, I think probably something that does stand out is in 2024 we had a tournament with the national team called the Premier 12, which is sort of runs in November, and it's like right after, it's before our season, so it's guys are coming off their off season, and we didn't have a lot of success in that tournament, and I felt, and the whole group felt like we probably weren't as prepared as what we needed to be, and we didn't really have the on-field success, and we probably we had a sort of a review that came out of it, and it was one thing. I was a co-captain with one of the other pitchers of the team, and part of our responsibility was to see how the guys felt, and so we basically had individual conversations with everyone on the team. So I spoke to all the hitters individually, and spoke to all the pitchers individually, and basically picked everyone's brain about what we need to do to get to that next level, what we need to do to prepare better ourselves as individuals, but as a collective, as the organisation, of what do guys need to prepare, and getting different insights from everyone in the team sort of helped my thought process about what certain guys need and what what other guys were feeling, and they didn't feel comfortable or they didn't have this to help them prepare, and it really helped us with the last World Baseball Classic, with knowing what we needed as a group, and the organisation, what we as players felt that we needed to help us prepare the best we can, and I think that showed with the last camp and the last tournament that we had, with just the positivity around it, and everyone felt like they had a bit of a say as well, where especially the younger guys, they probably don't feel like they've got a leg to stand on with who they can speak to, and I think just having those conversations and sitting down with everyone individually and getting their thoughts is, I think it helped me as a captain, but I think it helped the whole team as a collective as well. Yeah,
you're sort of driving that culture in a way, aren't you? Because if you lose that mentality and all of a sudden it starts to go down, you're the one that has to try and drive everything back and go, well, how more understanding can we be of each other here? Did you do a lot of those sort of like team meetings where you'd sort of sit down and have these tough conversations with them as a whole?
Not a heap. We would have group meetings where most of the time would be if things weren't quite going right, we'd have those conversations, and sometimes it can be a little bit too late where things aren't going right, then you have the conversations and you get back on track. But I think just building that culture or that environment where the young guy can come in, feel comfortable from the get-go, whether they can be themselves, and that's going to help them thrive, when you're playing in front of 50,000 people in the Tokyo Dome. And I always go back to, some of the leaders and the senior guys when I first joined the national team or first joined the Perth Heat, and I don't really remember many of what the conversations were about, but I sort of remember how they made me feel when I joined the team, and I sort of wanted to, as a leader, I wanted to make that my goal. Was someone comes on the team, how do you make them feel when they're around that environment, and how quickly can they adapt to being in that environment? Because if everyone's pretty loose and everyone's themselves, I think that helps the team be able to perform at the highest level.
Yeah. Did you find compared to like your time with the Australian team and then obviously with Perth Heat, did you find that your captaincy was about the same, or would you find that you'd have to sort of change it up in a style at international level versus domestic level? Was there anything they sort of had to work on in a sense?
Yeah, I guess it's similar in a way because you're sort of dealing with similar guys around similar age. You've probably got a few younger guys coming through with the Perth Heat. The Perth Heats, you got a season, you got a pre-season, you got a whole season, so you got a lot of time to be able to help those guys evolve. Where on the national team, you're away for 2 weeks for a training camp and then straight into a tournament. So you've got to be able to make that environment as much as we want to make the environment as quickly as we can, because we don't really have that time to build it up over a pre-season or as a season. So I guess you're probably a little bit quicker in trying to build that culture. But it's one of those things, you don't build the culture overnight, you build it over time. And that starts with is having that right environment.
Yeah, and you see that in a lot of like switching codes. You see that in like a lot of AFL teams and all that over a long period of time. They may have a tendency to sort of lose the team, lose fans and all that, but then you just slowly watch it grow and grow. And not much has changed player-wise, but it just so happens to be a more wholesome environment. You can see everyone's getting around each other, loving each other more. And I feel like based off your personality, that's sort of where the team was sort of looking.
Yeah, and I think probably wasn't myself, but I think it was just that core group that we had at the Perth Heat from a young age, and we had a lot of young professionals all joining the team at the same time, and that's where the old hashtag Happy Heaters came from, because we would go out there every one we were winning, which helped, and then and we were looked like we were having the best time while we were doing that, which is the environment that we created, which wasn't just one person saying this is how we need to be. It was us as a collective of how we trained, how we prepared, and how we enjoyed ourselves, and made it fun to go down to train, made it fun to play together and travel together and all that.
Make it a whole team environment, basically. Yeah. The like you mentioned before, and we sort of spoke about it when speaking with mates, like mates on the field and that. Did you find you changed your style up a bit when you were talking to, say, like a young recruit that's come in versus like a senior that's in the side? Did your style of captaincy or the way you would speak to someone change, or was it usually the same for both people?
I think you have to be able to adapt and change the way you speak to different personalities,
like
even
not even hats, basically.
Yeah, like the same way I would treat my best mate who's been on the team for 15 years would be different to you treat a young guy coming in. Not like you treat them any different, but the way you might need to make them feel or explain things to them, or sort of build them around the right environment. And not even that. There might be different personalities within the senior group. Some guys might be able to feed off, higher energy to them, and some guys you need to sort of nurture a little bit. So I guess that just you build that up over time with playing with guys and sort of thinking about how you might get the best out of someone that's going to help the team.
Yeah. So you sort of you basically just go off their personality, base how they read it, and still treat them as human like you should do. But it's more about the actual person themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And like if you get a young guy, and the thing with the Perth Heat is you've got a good core group of Perth-based guys, but then you've also got different imports that come in every year, and all those imports change. So half the team are made up of guys that weren't on the team the previous year, and they're coming in. They're on their professional journeys. They're coming in for 3 months to come play with you, and their goal probably isn't the same as what our goal is as Perth Heat players. Is to win. Their goal might be to develop. So if they don't have the same habits and as what we do with whether it's running out balls hard, playing the game the right way. Sometimes you might have to get on them quickly and bring them up where the Perth-based guys have sort of been around that environment, so they sort of know what the standard is. So it might treat them. It might be different about how you approach them.
Yeah, and having people like imports and all that coming into your side not that I think that baseball's really an ego-based sport, but do you find there is some people that do come in with a little bit of an ego, and it's been hard to sort of allow them to adapt because what they've learnt over in America might be different to what you're doing here? And how have you sort of dealt with that?
Yeah. You get like heaps of different cultures come over the Perth Heat. We get a lot of Latin Americans, Dominicans, Venezuelans come in. We've had some Asians from Korea, Japan. We've got a lot of Americans, Canadians that come in, and again, all different cultures and different styles of players. You know, we get some Latins, some Dominicans that come in with all this flair, and that's just the way that they've grown up around the game. And as a way, it's not the way that I've always played the game, but you've got to be able to let them be themselves in a way, as long as it's not affecting the team and culture or the standards that you set. But you've got to be able to evolve as leaders and let them go about their business, and because that's what makes them happy. That's what helps them play and thrive at that level. And as much as like for instance, hitting a home run, you'll see guys that will just put their head down, run around the bases, and then you'll see other guys that will, we call it pimping it, where they'll bat flip and do all this stuff.
It all
but
about them.
That's it. And over time, I've sort of that's just the way that the game is, and you got to let guys be themselves. And I guess that's how winning cultures are built, with guys just being able to be themselves.
Did you have a sort of little celebration you did if you hit a home run or anything?
Not really. I try not to do. I try to do as minimal as I can. Just get around the bases and get home.
I'm sure there would have been one time where you sort of had a little bit of a salute or something.
Yeah, I think any time you hit a walk-off home run where the game's finished, that's probably the one time that you can show a bit of emotion and a bit of celebration.
Bit of
I've been lucky enough to hit a couple, and that's probably the only time you'll see me have any emotion when I'm running around the bases. But apart from that, I try not to show too much.
Fair enough. No, it's a good characteristic to have. But you do need that in the team, though. You need some people to have that energy, because it brings flair to it. It brings excitement. Like, one thing I love is watching. I'm a Fremantle supporter, believe it or not. The sticker on my laptop probably gives it away. But the thing in the team is, like, they're a very, watching them now, like, you can see they're a very structured and controlled team, and they sort of go for each other and celebrate each other. But there's one or two guys in the team that make it all about them, and it's sort of like a motivator for the team too. So you can sort of need that, and I can imagine you need that in every sport, especially baseball, because it's, yes, you can be as humble as you want, but you also need someone to be there just in case you need that little extra rev up, and that flair, that cockiness can sort of come in handy at times, can't it?
Yeah, it can. And we always say it's like guys that just bring the energy. You need some of those guys in the team that doesn't feel like it's a chore out there, and that bring the energy and the life. And sometimes you just shake your head at some of the things that they do, but then the other times you're like, oh, this is actually sort of helps the team environment. And you see that. You see the barometers out on the footy field where you got your Paddy Vosses that go out there.
I was referring to,
and we have them, and we've got a few of those guys, the Perth-based guys that are like that. And then you always find you've got one or two that imports that come in, and pretty quickly you'll see what kind of energy they bring, and sometimes you need to tone them down, but other times you just let them be themselves, and you feed off that energy. And it's one of those sports where you got to get back up and do it again the next day, and some of those guys bring that energy day in, day out, which is cool. Yeah,
I can imagine. It's cool to sort of have that in your team, and as I said, every team needs something like that, because it just adds something different to them. In a sense of, like, things that you've learnt over your time, like, I know we sort of talked about having someone that you lent on to always come back to when you needed that help, but is there a bit of advice or someone that you sort of remember, like whether it was a coach, whether it was a former captain, whether it was someone else in your life, might have been personal, that sits with you and you remember learning that bit and it's sort of stuck with you for the rest of your life?
Probably something that sticks out is, like, early on, when I was like 15, 16, I joined the WASTE program, the Institute of Sport. So they were based out of Challenge Stadium there, and Don Kyle, who was my coach there, and he coached me at the Perth Heat, and has been a long time servant of baseball in Western Australia. And if anyone that's signed professionally has gone he's had an influence on their career. And early on, when I first started down at WASTE, we used to train 3 nights a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I didn't have my licence. One of my good mates used to drive from Rockingham, pick me up in Palmyra on the way through. And his thing was, I'm going to be here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes in the weekend. And it's not my responsibility to check on you if you're going to come. You come. If you want to come in, I'll be here. We'll be working. We worked our asses off, and basically that work ethic. That was basically when I first learned what work ethic was, and what it took to keep moving up to the next level and the next level, and basically learn that self-motivation. No one's going to be there holding your hand and telling you what you need to do in the gym and getting you to training. It's got to be yourself that's got to be motivated. And he sort of, I guess, set those standards for me early on, and that's probably when I first started seeing progress in my baseball career, and probably helped build into leadership roles as well. And because a lot of times I've spent in the off season, especially now, you're training on your own, you're preparing on your own to get ready for a season, and it's different to sort of other sporting, other sporting clubs where you train all year round. We might get together a few months or a couple of weeks, or a month or so before the season where we all start training together as a group. But you've got to make sure when you're starting to train together as a group that you're already prepared for the season. So a lot of times training on your own, and if you're not self-motivated, you won't put the work in, and that'll show in the end.
I do recall you saying that last time, like a lot of your training took place on your own, or it might be someone else that happens to live in the state that's going down with you for a hit, whatever it might be. But yeah, it is probably one of the hardest things. Like even in most sports, like tennis, cricket, whatever it might be, yes, it is handy to have the coach there and have players and all that around you, but baseball, it is, as much as it is a team sport, it is still an individual sport too. So you need to work on your craft because it complements the team. Yeah.
One thing for me is it is an individual. It's a team sport made up of individual performances, but you've got to make sure. For me, I made sure my body was right. I'd thrown enough to face the demands of throwing a baseball as hard as you can every single day, hitting enough where your body felt right, your swing felt good, and then obviously when you start training together as a group, it all sort of comes together. But it's that preparation that you do in May, June, July that's going to help when you guys start training together in August and September, getting ready for your season. So
100%.
Yeah.
I could pick your brain on this for so long, because I just found that last time I had you on, you offered so much, you had so much to talk about in your time, and you just came off as such a humble person that I just went, how is this man a captain when he had just offers so much, but it's as if like he's too giving. So that's why I wanted to find out more about you and sort of see like what is it about your captaincy style, your leadership style that differed from others, because it's just it's such a nice way. And everything you've mentioned today really does reflect that and show that, yes, you are this really humbling person. Not trying to blow smoke at you at all, but you're just a very humble person, easy to communicate with, which resonates. Why the team was so successful for such a long time. But it's also something to offer to listeners or any other people that are out there, because the leadership, it comes in many ways. It's not just in sport; it's also in business as well. Like I'm just recently started up my own business, and I'm at the stage now where I'm looking to hire on staff as well, and I've got to start to go, well, I want people to know that I'm that friend. I'm there for them and that, but I've also got to let them know, hey, this is also work. This is something else too. So we've got to have that balance between the two. So it is few things from this I am taking on myself, and I'm sure there's people out there too. But in saying all that, like, is there a bit of advice that you could offer to people listening or anyone else out there that might be a young guy that's just picked up a captaincy role with his local footy team, might be someone in baseball, might just be someone that's looking to take on a team leader role with their new job? What's something that you would sort of go with off your own bat?
Oh, I feel like as a leader, you got to have team first mentality. At the end of the day, you're playing a team sport, and individual success will only take you so far. And the team first mentality for me is it means like a lot of things. And if I have a bad day but we win, I'm happy. And I'm as competitive as they come. Whether anything that I do, I'm competing, and that's probably helped me in my baseball career with going out there and competing and preparing and make sure that if I'm having a one-on-one battle with that pitcher, that I'm done everything I can to win that battle. But yeah, I guess having that team first mentality and I guess building an environment, and that's something that I probably did naturally with the leadership group that we had when I first started playing with the Perth Heat, is build that environment where guys are comfortable and you can get the best out of everyone, because then at the end of the day, if you can get the best out of everyone individually, it's going to help team success. And he's got to go out there and you've got to enjoy going to the field, just like you got to enjoy going to work. If you enjoy going to work and you enjoy going to the field, then makes the training and makes the hard work that you got to put in a lot easier. And that's just something that probably is something that I've sort of developed over time. And and it's just something that if you're having team success, then obviously as an individual that makes you feel pretty good.
Yeah, and it helps yourself, helps the whole group, and everyone wants to work that little bit harder too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just can't believe I didn't even ask this earlier. Like, in saying that too, have you ever had to do any sort of have you ever attempted or had any coaches or anything attempt some weird sort of way to get the team together to motivate them? Like, is there any sort of in particular one that sticks out?
Oh, weird way.
You know how like the team building sort of things, they always go, let's do this team building activity, and it just doesn't make sense. But in your context,
I wouldn't say this didn't make sense, but recently, this last World Baseball Classic, we had a day. We were meant to be playing a game. We were in Japan, in a town called Fuchu City, or Fuchu, however they call it. It's probably about 45 minutes out of Tokyo. We had meant to play a game. It's pissing down with rain. So we got in our work, sort of what we could do, like indoor, the cages, pitchers did their throwing, and then manager pulls us in. We thought, we're going to get it afternoon to ourselves, cool. Pulls in and said, I've got a good team building exercise, and pulls out these sheets of paper. We thought, well, like, what are these coaches doing? We're sort of training. We haven't seen many of the coaches. Pulls out this piece of paper, and it's we've got a team building exercise. It's the amazing race around Fuchu City. So basically, we had maybe, I think we had 6 teams, all young guys were the captains of the teams. They had to draft their players who they wanted. I think I went in the first round. I think I didn't go pick number 1, which I was a bit upset about. Maybe pick number 4. And then, had a piece of paper. We had all these landmarks that we needed to go. Had to go basically take photos of, and I'll take a video of you doing, I think we had to do 10 jumping jacks at all these landmarks. And so we're in our uniforms, we're running around Fuchu City, it's pissing down the rain. My shoes were soaked by the time we get back. And I think we ended up doing like 8 or 9 kilometres around Fuchu City. So a few of the guys were pulling up, they had sore ankles and sore hamstrings and that. But it was great. It was like a really good team bonding exercise. So I wouldn't say it wasn't. It was like a bit different for us. But I know some guys were a bit upset with having to run that far. But I thought it was great. I was saying the competitiveness came out of me. I said we had to win, but we didn't. We came second. So
that actually sounds good though. That's something real different. Like most stuff, it's just some motivational talk or write down something about yourself or someone in the team. But that's actually an interactive way. It's fun. It gets you moving. You get to sightsee. Yeah, even better.
Yeah. There's a few guys that I think the winners cheated, but I don't know how because I thought we were going to win, but we didn't. Yeah. No, wait, that one fair and square.
No, fair enough. No, that's Tim. Thanks so much for this. It's been great to sort of catch up with you, go through all this, and as I said at the start, like your career speaks for itself. You're one of the greats when it comes to Australian baseball. Your name's going to be remembered forever. Do you still hold the home run record?
Yeah, I've got a few records there in the modern ABL, which I'm sure will get broken at some stage, but I reckon I've got a few more years to hold on to them. So
I think they'll stay there for a long time. People
otherwise have to come out of retirement for a few more games. But
I don't think anyone will disagree with that. But it's been great to have you on. Great to catch up. This has been such an interesting chat for myself, and I'm sure other people will agree that just hearing about your style of captaincy, your leadership, and the qualities that it takes to get there, and that it's not something that you're just born with. It's something that you pick on later up in life, and even later in life, early in life, later, whatever it might be. But it's been great to sort of pick your brain on it, mate.
I appreciate it. It's been great to go back and see the podcast growing. It's awesome.
Oh, thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah, we've upgraded, haven't we?
Yes.
The studio.
Yeah. No, it's good.
I will admit, I did like the Perth Heat.
The old baseball field as a backdrop.
It was nice. Cool. It was nice.
Yep.
No, thanks so much, mate.
No worries. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.